Got a few things on my mind, and the first thing is just how hard it is to sit down and make a little bit of content here and there. And the crazy thing is, it's just so easy to get unmotivated. And you could say it's a little bit of light depression, and I really hesitate to use that word because that implies some sort of a clinical problem or something, and I'm not saying that. It's just sometimes you get a little bit down on life. You're not really feeling it, and then you just don't want to stick to your routine of whatever it is that you're trying to do. I saw somebody make a post on a forum somewhere, and they said, I was struggling with depression, and so I did not finish playing some particular game that I wanted to finish. And I thought, well, that's really kind of interesting, because you would think that depression maybe keeps a person from doing their work or being productive or something like that, but it also can affect your productivity in terms of things that should just be fun and enjoyable hobbies. And it's just kind of interesting to imagine this, because we tend to imagine that depression is something that's maybe not something that would keep you from finishing a video game, but it's true. It doesn't matter whether it's a positive thing or if it's a chore or what it is. If your mental state of mind, your frame of mind is not very good, you're not going to be as engaged with any content as you will be if you are feeling more inspired and more motivated. And that leads me to the topic of maybe not depression, but just kind of that meh feeling when you're just you're not engaged, you're not really excited about life exactly. There's certain things maybe that are just kind of frustrating you or whatever, and you're just kind of not feeling it. The vibe isn't there. And maybe it's not depression, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a kind of a gray area. But whatever it is, it's not inspiration. It's not the mountaintop. It's when you're just kind of feeling like, you know what? Gee, I guess I'm gonna sit here and scroll on my phone for a little while, because man, I'm just not really feeling it. Like, we've all been there, and that's not a place where you want to stay. So I try to keep myself going in terms of having a routine that I come back to, and I know that's easier said than done. Simple things like sitting down, looking over finances once a week, or making sure the house is clean, or any number of little things. It's just everything. Sitting down, making a YouTube video doesn't seem like a big chore. It's not hard at all. But it's still something, when I'm not really super engaged, it's easy to kind of fall off the wagon on those things. And the whole purpose of this channel has been to try to be as real as possible, and talk about things that are relevant to my life, and things that actually probably would resonate with other people, because the truth is, very seldom do we have personal experiences which other people don't have. Usually we tend to feel alone. Truth is, other people are going through very similar emotions in various forms and ways, and so sometimes it's good just to maybe let people know, you're not facing these things in a vacuum. And if other people can face those things and make it through, then probably so can you. I was watching a video of a young lady with no right arm, and she had this apparatus strapped on there that allowed her to play a violin. She was playing the violin with no arm to hold the bow, just an apparatus strapped to her shoulder, and she'd figured out how to make it work so she could play the violin. And I always like to see things like that, because it reminds me that we get so into our heads. We get into this funk, you know, where we're kind of saying, well, you know, poor me, you know, I can't do this or that. Things aren't going to work out the way I want them to. And then you see other people who maybe have gotten over that. They've faced that, they've powered through, and then they've proven that you can have a productive and joy-filled life, even if you do have some cards missing out of the deck. And that's a good thing to remember when we're feeling a bit in a funk. And I guess the other thing is just it's been on my mind a lot, and that is how easy it is to live your life thinking about what other people are doing and judging your progress based on what other people's expectations are. And one aspect of this is people will say, okay, you need to do productive things with your life. You need to do, you know, good in the world. You need to contribute, all of the above. But the truth of the matter is, it's not really the case, because people do what they do primarily for their own benefit. They might contribute, they might innovate, they might work hard, they might do good in the world, but at the end of the day, people do what they do generally not for altruistic reasons, but just because it's in their interest to do whatever it is that they are doing. They're trying to prove their relevance in the world, and then they try to pressure other people to join into that sort of a competition with them. Because if you want to be competitive and no one else is being competitive, then there's no fun, because you're competing only against yourself. So if you really want to be competing against other people, you have to get other people to feel like they're inadequate in some way, so that they will step up to the plate and start trying to see if they can best you. And then you jump into the race and you try to outmaneuver them. And that's kind of the way life in human society tends to work. People will say things about how important it is to be productive, or how important it is to do certain things that are the social norm, and then they'll they really are just trying to get ahead. They're trying to look over their shoulder all the time to see who's watching and what's everyone else think about what I'm doing, and then they try to kind of one up everybody, and that's how they live their life, always trying to be at the top of that metaphorical pyramid. And that's a really toxic way to live. By the same measure, if you say that you're going to just live your life purely for your own benefit, you're not going to harm anyone, you're not going to you're not going to do any evil to anyone, but you're also not going to go out of your way to do things in life that you don't truly enjoy. Well, that's may not seem like a particularly great way to live, but it really is, because if you're doing things you enjoy, you're most likely going to contribute along the way. You're going to wind up doing good in the world as you go along, and it's not a horse race, but you're going to wind up being a net positive, not a net negative. And the truth is, if there weren't any people that were doing harm in the world, it wouldn't be all that important for everybody to necessarily do all that much good. Just like if you have a car and you always take care of that car and you never have to take it in for maintenance, well, then it's not as important for you to be really good at handling mechanical problems with the vehicle, because they are much more rare. So there's a lot of people that are kind of like that. They're going to min-max their repair skills and overlook the fact that maybe just don't do harm, and that's enough. Just don't be a toxic person. Don't be a hateful person. Don't be a cruel kind of a competitive person that's trying to get ahead at the expense of other people. Just basically golden rule kind of stuff. Do what you will, and harm no one. That's about all there is to it. And then don't believe in lies. If you know that based on all available evidence something's true, then don't fly in the face of evidence. Don't be one of those people that believes that the earth is flat just because for some reason you were taught that the world is flat and you decided that you're going to believe that no matter how much evidence is provided to the contrary. Well, anyway, that's a bit of a ramble, but all in all, I just wanted to talk about how easy it is to fall into a funk of being unmotivated, and then also how easy it is to fall into the trap of judging your life on a basis of other people when you really probably shouldn't. And I got a little collection of hats, cowboy hats and other various hats of that general style. I like to wear them sometimes, and I've always kind of felt self-conscious about this because why? I don't know. It's just because I guess you don't really need to wear a hat usually, so it's just kind of more of a cosmetic thing. It's more of just a cool thing. I just like hats. I think they're pretty cool. I like to wear them. So since it's a little bit of a novelty, I tend to feel self-conscious about this, and so it's super easy for me to wind up not wearing the hat just because I'm afraid of what will people think. Well, they think I look stupid or whatever it might be. And the crazy thing is nobody really cares. I mean, like, and I think about these things, and it winds up being incredibly eye-opening and incredible, just wild to think you spend your whole life worrying about all this small time stuff. What are people going to think about me if I wear a hat and they think I look stupid? Like, that's just an example. We all do this kind of thing. I was talking to my boss, and he was like, oh, I got this watch, and it was kind of more like an expensive watch somebody gave to me. And he said, I feel self-conscious about wearing the watch because I'm afraid people are going to look at me wearing the watch, and then they're going to judge me, and they're going to say, well, why is he wearing this expensive watch? And, does he think that he's better than us or something, right? Like if he's around his employees. Well, that's totally really on him. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares what kind of a watch this guy wears, but in his mind, it's still something where he can't just enjoy wearing the watch because he's thinking about what other people are thinking if he chooses to wear it. Well, we go through our whole lives this way, and man, it's just crazy. I've been thinking about this, like now, probably like almost 2 years ago or something, going through a divorce and going from, the sense of, I guess, bondage, feeling like just kind of invisible in my own home, feeling like it wasn't a good marriage, and kind of, I guess feeling like Harry Potter under the stairs, kind of just not feeling respected, and just kind of having this toxic element, then going from that to this feeling of, just being alone and realizing, that can suck too, but then there's that fear of, you don't want to jump into something that's bad for you either. And, I guess going through all this stuff over the last couple of years, reviewing, my life and having the perspective of different relationship situations and things to kind of draw off of, I've just realized, my goodness, like I've made it to middle age, and now here I am, and I realize, like, I've spent decades of my life worrying about what other people think, who ultimately don't even remember that I exist. You go to work and you grind for your boss, and you worry about the social dynamics of what everyone wants you to be doing, and what is the truth? Like, the truth is, I didn't really enjoy chasing career progression at the expense of having personal time, at the expense of having social connections, at the expense of having the ability to rest. You know, spending years working, so oftentimes 80 hours a week, maybe sometimes not even being able to get more than 4 or 5 hours of sleep between shifts, just because being salaried and being in management, you never really get let off the hook in some situations. Like these kinds of things, like that's not my life now, but that's my life for quite a while. And when you're on that treadmill, you don't even think about what you're missing out on. And you know what I've been thinking about lately? I've been thinking, man, you know, I like playing computer games. I like just hanging out outside. I like having kind of a whimsical attitude toward life where I don't really worry too much about things. You know, I don't really, you know, I like to pay attention to what's going on in the news because it's interesting to observe these things, but I don't want to spend my life defining my existence by whatever's going on in the political arena at the moment. I don't want to define my life by toxic things, by negative things, or by judgmental things. You know, I'd rather go to a anime or a video game convention and dress up like a fantasy character and hang out with other people who maybe a lot of folks would say are losers, because you know what, those people aren't going to be constantly judging everybody and expecting other people to jump on a treadmill of imaginary pursuit of success. And I've realized life is pretty fleeting. We don't have time for bad days. We don't have time for not doing the things that we truly enjoy. And to that point, I've been thinking about how, you know, I do want to start going to some gaming conventions, going to, you know, an anime expo, going to things that I probably never would have felt I had time to do before, or maybe I would have thought they were stupid, or been self-conscious about, you know, what'll people think if I do this. You know, if I want to go dress up like Spock from Star Trek and slap some pointy ears on and then go parade around with them, you know what, I might just do that. And the truth is, I don't want to make my way all the way through my entire life and then know in my heart that all the times when I felt like I wanted to do something or felt like maybe something would bring joy into my life, I just kind of suppressed that in favor of maintaining the status quo, doing what people expected. And so I just think it's so important. You know, you can't necessarily control a lot of elements in your life. Like you can't force somebody to love you. You can't force somebody to be engaged. You can't compel people to be what they're not. But you can control certain aspects of the way you look at life. And if you eliminate some of those self-limiting factors that just make you feel kind of invisible, then maybe you can find your voice. Maybe you can be more authentic. Maybe you can dare, in a world filled with superfluities, to be authentic. And if you can, that can be a way to open doors that maybe you never would have thought you could open, because you just never try. And you know, it's like that old adage of, you know, asking out a woman. Well, it's always going to be no if you never ask, right? So, you know, how many things in life would be positive elements, but we don't even dare to venture out at all, you know? So make time for the stuff that you enjoy in life. Make time for the things that authentically feel like they reflect who you are, who you want to be, and try to eliminate some of the things that maybe keep you from being engaged. Try to eliminate some of the distractions. It can be people that are distractions because they're toxic or they're always trying to manipulate you. It can be things like maybe too much social media, and I talk about this a lot, but it's really true. Like we can just fall into the trap of always, scrolling and never really being mindful about the things that we truly want to be doing. Like instead of scrolling Facebook, maybe finish another couple quests in your favorite video game. Yeah, it's at least something that you can measure. It's something that you wanted to do. You can say you've done it. Whereas, well, you're never going to get to the end of the Facebook feed. It will always be going on and on forever. So don't spend all of your time doing things which will never end and also never satisfy. Start daring to do things that actually bring joy into your life. I was raised Christian, and I have a lot of appreciation as well for the teachings of Eastern religions and Wicca and things like that. And I like the Wiccan Rede, because the Wiccan Rede, which is like the Wiccan version of the Ten Commandments, basically, but it says it says various things, and then in the end it sums it all up by saying, do what you will, but harm none. And I think that ultimately that should be the way we look at life. We should always remember that we are free to do whatever we want to do. It's okay to do whatever you want to do, as long as you are not harming someone. And no matter how much you think that something is okay, it's not okay if it's doing harm to others. And maybe one final thought is that the truth is always the way to go. So if you know that something is not true and you choose to believe it, you choose to peddle a lie, that is also a form of harm. And so sometimes we self-harm ourselves because we choose to hang on to old notions which we know in our heart. We know it's not true. We know we need to let it go. We know we need to stop worrying what other people think. We know we need to stop hanging on to old toxic fantasies that never bear any good fruit in our life. Like, we know these things, but then we keep going back to the same old demons again and again. It's like fighting the mobs in the video game. They always respawn because we keep on going to the places where we know they will always be. And there's never going to be a time when you can defeat enough of them for them not to come back, because ultimately that's what they do. They respawn. Until you stop fighting them altogether, you will always have monsters to face. So let truth be on your side. Be faithful first and foremost to yourself. Try to stay motivated, even if you sometimes don't feel very motivated. And most of all, remember, it's okay to be authentic, even if that feels a little bit risky. So, till next time, good luck on your adventure, wherever your journey might take you. And thanks for watching.